This is Andy Purewal for ID Boxing. I'm joined by manager Neil Marsh over Zoom. Neil, firstly, how are you?
Yeah, good mate. Long time. How are you?
It's been a while indeed, and yeah, I'm all good. Obviously, it's been an exciting few weeks for yourself, and let's just start off with the most recent announcement. Your man David Avanesyan finally gets that big fight he's so long craved for when he challenges Terence Crawford in December. Is one which came out of the blue, Neil. So can you just tell me where this fight came from?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of problems with Crawford and Spence from what I gather. Obviously, the promoter will never divulge anything, but they've decided to move on and we're the chosen one, and that's it. And they came on very quickly. And but you know, when two parties want to fight, it's easy to make. They had their ideas, we had ours. We found happy mediums on some things. We dug our heels in on others. It was a pleasure to deal with, Andy. Easy, no problem. They wanted this, we wanted that, and we got it done very quickly, mate. Happened, like you say, out the blue, but nicely.
Yeah, that's it. You know, you mentioned it happened all very quickly. So we all saw obviously Frank Warren last week at the Furious Resort press conference, and then nothing was said to us. Then nobody knew about it, and next thing you know, the following day, the fight gets announced. So, what was the turnaround like? How quick were these negotiations?
Between 24 and 48 hours. Like you say, you'd have seen Frank on the Thursday. I think it happened on the Thursday, but with the time scale in America. So he had a bit of a long night the Thursday night. If I remember rightly, it was a long night the Thursday night. And then I'm asking my lawyer and being proactive and different things. But, you know, with Queensbury, they're very experienced, like most of the big promoters, but Queensbury especially. They sent a contract which was clean and not malicious. Andy Ayling had done a tremendous job in negotiating certain things which we needed. So when it did come to me, the contract, Andy just said, "Do you want it?" Yeah, we want it. We agreed where we need to be. You know, did we want more money? Of course we did. But, you know, we've got to understand the situation with voluntary. It's so difficult to get David a world title fight. So, but collectively we got it done, and give the Yanks the credit. They worked very hard and fast, and so did Queensbury and myself. So very happy, man. Very happy.
BLK Prime, the company, you know, putting up the money for this fight and will be streaming the fight. Neil, do you have any kind of knowledge as to who exactly they are, what involvement, if at all, you've had with them previously?
No involvement with them whatsoever. But they do have a person I've spoke to quite a lot, someone who's very well known around one of the old pound for pound stars. We checked him out. We've looked at the what let's say wool on the back. There's companies in the UK and different things, and they seem to have like quite a considerable amount of money to come into boxing with. So I welcome them with both hands. Whatever the background is doesn't matter. What I mean is whether they've done boxing before or whether they haven't. That doesn't bother me. Whether they're from making Coca-Cola to McDonald's, it doesn't interest me. The fact is for us, it was a good offer. The opportunity was better than the offer, and it's up to us to contractually protect David like we would against anybody. And, you know, you do the normal things like make sure the money's in safe accounts the week before the fight, etc. And that's it really, mate. You know, so it's done.
Well, that's something I was going to ask, obviously, because they are kind of an unknown quantity to the boxing world, and they are fronting a lot of money. There's reports of Terence earning around an 8-figure payday, around $10 million upwards. You've got kind of everything and no concerns there when things get to that legal side and the financial side.
Yeah, like I say, I've done my job proper. So's Queensbury. We're as protected as you can be. You know, you've got to trust that Terence isn't stupid as well. You know, Terence has decided to do the fight with him. Actual figures, what are being bandied about, I don't know if there's any truth. I don't pay any attention to it. He's the pound for pound star, we're not. All that doesn't matter, mate. We've got a contract where, you know, like you either term money in escrows and different things. Our finances are secure. As long as the fight goes ahead, we're protected, pal. So you no concern, mate. No concern. I don't read any of these false people on social media having digs left, right, and centre. They've never been in. Like I say, I don't know what the history is with regard. I know that there's a few wealthy companies about it. They've got this Prime site. There's an event on just before. I have a financial advisor with me, other businesses who can just have a little nosy about what companies they've got and different things. And, you know, without me trying to educate myself on their life, they just turn around and say that they seem a very wealthy entity. So I don't need to know anything. That was it. So, you know, I'm happy, pal. I'm happy.
Neil, obviously, I know you've been trying to secure a big fight for David for a while now, going back to the Josh Kelly win. So now when you look at this now, how happy are you on a personal note to have been able to deliver it?
Massively. It's been a challenging few years. Like I say, if the previous, and just my opinion, if the previous promoter had done his job right, we wouldn't have been having these problems. You know, it's been frustrating in some contexts, but since we left Matchroom, we've had 2 fights. We got the same amount of money as we had in the last few years with Matchroom, and we got a WBC final eliminator, which they tried to steal our position with a low ball offer to Frank. We played no part in negotiation. Do we want it? Yes. It never got anywhere. The war slowed things down. Obviously, we had to prove David was Armenian, which he is. You know, and there was a lot of people mixing bottles in the background saying he's Russian, he's Russian, he's Russian. I'll tell you how it is. It's, you know, a lot of obstacles. So, you know, we've had the 2 good, you know, 2 tick-over fights. Then we've had the possibility of the final eliminator, and then now we're straight into Terence Crawford. So as much as it's been a frustrating few years, we've had a good year, mate. So we're, you know, them frustrations are gone now.
I mean, just looking at kind of some names which have been mentioned most recently over the last year or so. Obviously, you had the Ortiz fight, which seemed to be in the pipeline and never materialized. And then Alexis Rocha was mentioned previously as well. Can you just kind of tell people as to why either and both of those fights never happened?
Yeah, just I don't want to go on too much about politics and everything. To my opinion, it's like with Eddie Hearn, we'd only had a couple of fights, and I think 2.5 years, and you know, people said COVID. There wasn't. There was events going on left, right, and centre. Gibraltar, he's backguarding everywhere. And the fact is Eddie had an add-on for the Josh Kelly fight. That was it. Afterwards, you know, I notified him that it wasn't good enough. They hadn't give us what we wanted contractually, and what we'd agreed contractually, and was in black and white, and we was going to go elsewhere. And then at the 11th hour, they offered us Rocha. Eddie's good at just saying a little bit of a story, and he just keeps saying that we refused the WBA eliminator. You'll find no contradictory videos of anything we ever say, where you will with Eddie. And the fact is they offered us an eliminator when we was terminating, because they'd not give us a fight for so many months again, like was a previous consistent, you know, we kept seeing how they was being with us. And but the terms was we had to give them the European belt, and we had to wait for Alexis Rocha to have a fight 2 months down the line and hope he didn't get injured, and then let him start camp. Come on, man. We'd been starved for 2 years. So we rejected it. Plus the WBA had their idea with Stanios and Ugas and people like this, which is all, you know, it developed the way it has. Everybody's seen that. We couldn't have got anywhere near that title, even if we beat Alexis Rocha and we danced to Eddie's tune, which we chose to go a different direction, and it's paid massive dividends. And, you know, I don't want to keep going on about Eddie, but it's something funny. It was like fight week at Conor Benny come up and said, he keeps having digs at us. It's like the Rocha thing he keeps saying. It's like saying you're going to win Euro Millions, but you have to pay 5 times the amount afterwards. He keeps using the only one thing he can have a dig at us over is we refuse to fight. He doesn't tell you everything else. You know, he doesn't tell you anything whatsoever. But he said on the Conor Benn fight week that David Avanesyan's career stalled since we moved on. Eddie, it's like egg on your face, pal. It's like, you know, you couldn't have said it at a worse time. You know, when you've got an hard-working team and a promoter who's actually working for you and not looking for strip your assets, things happen, and that's what's happened. So we're in a lot better place. We've got Terence Crawford. So, you know, I don't want to keep going on about Rocha and different things, but David Avanesyan will fight any man. Hence why he signed a contract in 36 hours to sign to go to Terence Crawford's home city and fight a pound-for-pound star.
How big of a shock would it be if David wins, Neil?
I've been looking at. Someone said Eddie had said it's an 100-1 fight. I haven't actually seen it because I don't watch much of his videos. You know, I choose not to. I think the bookies have David as 7-1, and the bookies aren't stupid. That's not a wide underdog. If you'd have said 4 years ago, yeah, huge shock. But David's grown since his last defeat. Which was 4 years ago, David's grown into a world-class welterweight. Carl Greaves has done a great job. Hence, you can see his performance. The one thing the inactivity did do is allow Carl, if there is any plus side to it, is allow Carl to put his own stamp on him and developing in the gym, which he has done. He's got world-class power. He was a little bit on the low side when he got defeat. And if he catches him, I'm not telling anyone anything they don't already know. If you look at his body shot, mate, it's absolutely terrific. If you catch Terence Crawford, he's going to sleep. That's it, full stop.
I've seen Terence's comments that if he comes through, well, he's for him, he says when he comes through the test of David Avanesyan, he's going to look to get those talks back on with Errol Spence Jr. Do you believe at all he might be overlooking the challenge of David?
They haven't said anything. I've got a funny feeling them talks are ongoing. As for overlooking David, I think if I was to say it, I'd say no, because you don't get to work Terence Crawford is by overlooking people. I think he might be misjudging his ability. I think there's a mistake. And, we're under no illusion. Terence Crawford should win this fight. It should be a good homecoming for him. But I'm very privileged that David's going to go and crash the party. I'm hopeful. The kid's deserving of a bit of luck in his career, mate, because he hasn't had any. We've got this, and let's go and do it. He's done it the hard way. And if they're overlooking him, it'll be a massive mistake. If he does what he expected should do, Terence Crawford should win the fight. But it's not going to be like Eddie said, 100-1. If that's right, outsider David Avanesyan's going to give him a nightmare for parts of this fight, and he's not going to have it his own way. And we're going to throw the kitchen sink at it, pal. It's too big of an opportunity, too big of a prize, and I've got a fighter who's starving. So let's hope he is overlooking us.
Neil, usually when you have a fighter like Terence Crawford and it's a voluntary, you can kind of pick and choose who you want to face and everybody will jump at the chance. When they came to you, to your knowledge, are you guys the only ones who were approached? Was there anybody else in the background who's being considered?
No, not at all. If anything, I was worried about how serious they was, because I fought the Spence fight. I was thinking all types of things. Are they going to send the contract to Spence's people to say we're going to crack on and different things? And I apologise to the Americans for saying this, but I was open with the Americans anyway that I was thinking this, but they wasn't. They were serious. I think from their side they just had enough of Errol Spence's side. I don't know the full story, so I won't comment on it. But there was no opponent. It's, do you want it? You're the chosen one. Take it or leave it. Obviously, we're going to tighten the contract up, different things, and that's it. They'd have moved on. They didn't have time for mess about. I think it was, are you eligible to? Yeah, we're training for an EBU. The kid's fit. The kid's passport's all in order. Everything. So no, I don't know. I can't see another opponent. I think we've been handpicked. I think Terence likes the look of David because we got Terence mentioned to us a while ago. So, and I think Terence had mentioned it. So I think Terence really fancies the David fight. Let's hope we can make him wish he didn't wish for that fight.
Neil, just kind of looking at what the landscape was due to look like. David was due to fight in Telford towards the middle stroke end of November for defending his European title against John McGuinness. Now, I know that fight's no longer going ahead, but what's the status with his European title?
Yeah, we're an honest, clean team. We don't play games, we don't anything. And when the offer came in, we notified the EBU straight away. We said there isn't a contract. We've been offered this. We are still fighting November the 19th. Once the contract came and Andi Ailing worked miracles, boom, 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 very quickly. And my lawyer giving his time up in a real busy Fury because he was doing the Fury stuff as well. It's Robert Davis, who's fantastic with me. He's looked after me for many years. We as soon as the contract came and we did all that, straight away we vacated. We feel a little bit for Miguez, but that's boxing. I don't think anybody in the world of boxing, except better people or people aligned to other promoters, will begrudge David Avanesyan this opportunity.
Neil, just one other name I want to get your thoughts on, and you be, further down the line is Conor-Benn. Now, he's a name which has been linked with David in the past, and I asked Carl Greaves this question, and he said that David would still take the fight. He's a fighter, but it's one more so for you to maybe answer if you would look to make it still. Of course, we had the news of Conor's adverse finding a few weeks back in one of his VADA tests. If at some point that fight was to be offered, would you still be open to facing Conor-Benn? And what did you make of when that news broke a few weeks ago?
One thing I've not kicked Conor while he's down. If he's tested positive for a banned substance, which it looks like, it's disgusting. But he's a young guy. He'll serve his penalty and he'll come back. If we was ever to go into a fight with Conor-Benn, I remember when we did the Lamont Peterson fight with David, I think 2015. There's different types of money you can spend on VADA packages and different things, and I put Lamont Peterson under that much pressure, but unfortunately David had to do the same thing, so he was getting terrorized the minute he walked off the plane, and then an hour later he was in his room, so I think if everything goes the way I expect it to with Conor-Benn's failed test, and he'll receive a ban, etc., I'd put him under the same stringent thing if we was ever going to take that fight again. That would be the same as any fight. I think he's a young man. He's made a mistake. I'm disgusted in it. But he's a young man, and I think anyone who does any sort of crime in life, go and do your time and start your career again. And that's it. So I would engage in it, but it would be really, really stringent testing. But Conor-Benn's not on our agenda. It never has been. It was the politics and them trying to steal our belt, where Conor's name kept getting linked to David, and Eddie Hearn coming out with loads of shit all the time, trying to put us down. And, so we had to fight back and we had to make a point, and I think we did multiple times. So, with regards to the test, I think it was a PR disaster. I'm not, I'll look in. Again, it's just my opinion. It's like a car crash, what happened. I think they could have all handled it a bit better. You had contradictory things off Callis Howland and Eddie, one saying that they're going to do this event, they're going ahead with it, then the other. Then you see all the fight week money being spent. I just feel for fans, mate. They found out on the 23rd, in a current climate, people wait till end of month, book hotels and book the travel and different things, and they'd have all done that, not knowing that there was a drug test in place. I think, I think something should have been said. And that's just my opinion. I'm not going to go on about it. They've had an hard enough time. I think from a promotional point of view, you knew what you were doing. You knew the risk of running the event for that last 3 weeks. So all that wasted time, money and effort was always in danger. So you knew the risks. As for Conor, if he stuck something in him, I'm not buying this B sample stuff. I've done loads of VADA drug testing. The A and the B is the same sample. They piss at the same time. They seal them at the same time. I'm not buying it. Could he come out with some story, excuse or justification? Possibly. But I don't get involved with politics. I think he'll receive a ban. But I'm not going to kick him anymore. There's every man and his dog has waded in, kicked him, kicked Eddie. I'm not a friend of Eddie's. I don't wish him any good luck, but I'm not going to start wishing misery on him. That's it. It's happened now. But rather than going on, we'd entertain Conor-Benn. Let's hope David does Terence Crawford. We have a couple of defences and he comes out of a 2-year ban. But listen, wishful thinking. And I'd actually, if he did do that, I'd give him first defence. I promise you. Matchroom, get on the phone to Frank. We'll give you first defence.
Neil, just moving forward as well, and obviously you've got another man getting ready for a big fight, Zach Parker, John Ryder, one which British boxing fans are certainly looking forward to. Again, how easy was this fight to make?
I played very little in this fight, and as a manager, when you play little parts in big fights like I did with Crawford, you get pure satisfaction. I get the same satisfaction for this, but I'll take the credit where it's due. But I'll also be honest, and it was Frank Warren who did it, and I played absolutely no part. Frank's absolutely fully behind us. I'm very, very grateful to Frank. After all the nonsense with the pullouts and different things, Ryder was the next available contender. They asked us, would we have him? We said, definitely. Zach can't wait. For me, profile-wise, I think Zach Parker and John Ryder is exactly what Zach Parker needs. He needs that British ding-dong against a tough kid who everybody recognises, and hopefully we can go and make a statement.
For WBO interim title on the line, Neil, obviously you've got Canelo who holds a full version of the title, and something which people kind of asked is how this one came about to having that belt on the line. Can you just kind of elaborate and tell people as to that process of getting that title available?
Yeah, what it was is we boxed the number one a couple of years ago, Rowan Murdoch. So then we end up in the mandatory position. And without going into ins and outs, I believe the Sowlands didn't do the admin right. That's my opinion. That's what I'm led to believe, which has prevented us from getting there before. So in the meantime, we had a long time of inactivity. We then signed with Frank. So Frank's picking the pieces up of, let's say, the promoter not doing his job as well as I'd have liked in the previous couple of years. So we needed to get out because of inactivity. Frank got us out, and then he starts working for us. But in the meantime, Demetrius Andrade then decides to vacate his middleweight belt. He was like doing the dance shuffle, one he trying to avoid that Zanet and then coming to us and running back, and it's an embarrassment. But the WBO rules are, if the champion, the full champion in a lower division or an higher division, goes into the next division, he then becomes the automatic mandatory. But because we'd done everything right, we'd sat there a couple of years, we'd beat the number one, Frank had done his job right admin-wise, etc., the WBO ruled that it was unfair on Zach Parker, which I thank him for. So in this situation, you have a champion who's deserving, because he's a champion, and you have a challenger who's deserving. So the easy way is to give it an interim title. Canelo's tied up. The split on the first purse bid was very favourable to Andrade. I think it was 65-35. And then on the second bid, it was a lot more favourable in our favour. I think it was 50-50, if I'm right. And that's why the interim, and I understand people's criticism about too many titles, different things, but when you get two great fighters, because Zach Parker will become a great fighter in Andrade and Zach, and you blocked a little bit with what's ahead with Canelo and different things, I think these titles play a big part in that. And I think it's a fitting title to a fitting fight when Andrade and Zach was nominated. So obviously Boo Boo played the game. He said he was injured. I can't say any different. But when he pulled out again after the second purse bid, we have now been nominated for the interim title. So then it goes down the line, and I think it was the next in line was Ryder, the next in line was Berlanga. I think they're just as hard as each other. Berlanga's not performed recently as well as he'd done before he got to the slightly higher level. But for us, we need that big domestic fight, and John Ryder fits the bill. So Frank Warren, they just did the deal. I think they took a little bit of time coming back off Matchroom, but with all due respect, Matchroom, we're dealing with a Conor Benn thing, so I don't expect anything come back as quick as the Crawford fight did for us. But we got the contract back, they signed. The only part I played is obviously with the gym, having Conor Benn testing. I immediately said about the VADA drug testing and different things, which Frank was completely agreeant. John Ryder agreed it. But we put a clause in there which protects us. I can't divulge because it's confidential. I don't want to aim anything at the gym because I've got no foundations in that. But once someone in the gym, I have to do my job properly, and like I do anyway. But John Ryder was fully agreeing on everything we asked. So I have nothing but respect for John, and he agreed to all our stringent requests, as we'd say.
There was just a couple more from me. What is your knowledge as to why Demetrius pulled out for a second time?
I think it was the purse, wasn't it? I think what Demetrius did very, very well, he bought himself time. I think he didn't expect Matchroom to lose the first bid. And I think he likes the big ring and the home corner. He's very comfortable and different things. And we'd have probably just put a small one in and smashed in bits if we could. It's like he'd have known that. And it's like he didn't expect that. So he went along with it. And then an injury came. Authenticity, the injury, I don't know. But I'm not going to start accusing a fighter of pulling out, but he has pulled out of a lot of situations a lot of times, so I can only think negative of it. And And then he ended up going down to middleweight. Then Zanuck got thrown on him. He then pulled out of that, and then he came up to 168 and caused havoc again. Obviously, I've got to trust Frank Warren. We'd had a discussion in London about the bid, like we did prior to the matchroom. And he said, there's no bidders. And they've got contacts all around the world. You've got to trust their climate. I said, but isn't this wasting time? And Frank said, no. He said, we won't. We will campaign heavily for you, and you'll get the next available, which we then seen was Ryder and Berlanga. So if we try to do our job right, we get rid of Andrade. We were fighting Andrade. There's no ifs or buts. You know, a middleweight world champion stepping up at 34 against a young gun who can bang in your own corner in Derby. We was having it. But if we had a choice between Andrade and Ryder, we're taking Ryder for many reasons, different styles. I think Andrade's a better fighter than Ryder. You know, Ryder's a great fighter, but he isn't the same ability as Andrade. Plus, then you had the domestic stuff, so it was fantastic. So I played very little, and thank you to Frank Warren. He got it over the line. Very rarely will you ever see me say anything nice about Eddie because of my experiences, but thank you to Matchroom for having an open mind and allowing this fight, because I think in the past a lot of politics have stopped things like this. And that's it really, mate. So, you know, happy days.
Neil, just final one on that fight. What does Zach have to do to overcome John Ryder?
I just think he needs to turn up 100% on the night, like he's capable of doing, and he will do. You know, a few people mentioned Darryl Williams. He detached his shoulder in 3 places in round 1. You know, he's been on scintillating form since. You know, we've seen the real Zach Parker. We know what Zach Parker is. And he's like, Zach Parker's a world-class fighter, and this is the right fight. I don't think John Ryder's a world-class fighter. He's just a level below. And Zach Parker turns up, he will beat John Ryder. And I've got no doubt. You know, why would we request John Ryder? Why would we ask for that fight? It's like, I'm not going to just stick my kid in a fight what's got to get beat. I don't want him, you know, and I might be contradicting myself over Crawford and David, but you know, we don't have any avenues with David. The world titles are locked down massively. We can't get near him, so you know that he's expected to get beat in that fight. But we're going to throw everything at that. But with Zach, there's not as big a rush with Zach as there was with David, because David's like 34, 35 now. It's his last chance at the real top level world title. We had to take the opportunity. But with Zach, there's time on our side. He's 28. He's still a young man. So we've selected John Ryder. If he turns up 100%, he'll do a number on him. And I'm sure he'll do a lot better than people like Callum Smith did. And Callum's a great fighter. I think Callum just overlooked him. But I think he's ready he's made for Zach, and this is the fight what Zach's going to burst onto the scene at the top level.
Right, Neil, we'll leave it there now. Leave you to enjoy the rest of your day. I appreciate you doing this interview. Thank you for speaking to me and ID Boxing.
Thanks a lot, Andy.